Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. So today is going to be a specialty show. It's about 11 o'clock, 11:05 here on a Thursday. We had a little bit of a winter storm last night, and it's pretty cold. We only got a few inches, but it really got pretty cold and enough to where they delayed schools this morning by 2 hours, which is kind of ridiculous because maybe we're lucky if we got maybe 2 inches of snow. But anyway, so today is going to be a specialty show. It's going to be a little bit of a different thing. I've done, a few things around this kind of trend, but where a lot of YouTube people talk about trailer reactions for certain things, and there's been a few big trailers for films that are coming out this summer, 2024. The trailer, or I should say, more along the lines of like teaser trailers. Teaser trailers, I mean, most people know this already, but the whole teaser trailer thing is a movie that obviously is very anticipated, or there's definitely like the fan base is excited, or just the general public could be really excited about the news of a new film. So usually studios will put out a little teaser trailer, which will just give you a little bit of a taste of the tone of what is to come. And then usually that gets released or dropped, and then a few months later or so, teaser trailers typically come out way in advance, months and months in advance, sometimes 5 or 6 months in advance, sometimes a year. And so that usually gives you a little bit of the sense of like what the tone is and what the vibe seems like what the vibe seems like it's going to be for the film itself. And then usually what studios do is they put out at least one or two full-length trailers after that. And those usually run, the teaser trailers usually run maybe a minute or two, and then the full-length trailers obviously 2 or 3 minutes. And recently, the teaser trailers for the new Deadpool was released during the Super Bowl Sunday, and also the trailer. First, it was just the production still, and then the trailer came out shortly after that, and that is for the new Crow film starring Peter Skarsgård. And recently, this show is going to be about the new teaser trailer for Alien Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez. And, I have a hard time watching trailers these days. I think trailers, for the most part, that are put out by these studios, you know, they give you too much. They give you too much information. Generally, when you see a trailer now, there's they let the cat out of the bag essentially, and there's no real. I think a good trailer or a good teaser trailer should really whet your appetite. Should really be enticing and exciting and you should really come away from that viewing, really eager and hungry to see the film. But it shouldn't like answer your questions. It should just give you a general synopsis, and you want to be in that world. So, but too often it's the other way around, unfortunately. And I think people do that, or I should say, studio executives have this, ridiculous notion in their head by that nowadays, and it's typical, it's commonplace now, which I love watching trailers. I always, for me, when I go to the theater, one of the things that I love the most is, going to the theater and getting there early enough to see the trailers for a film. The last movie that I went to go see with some friends was Dune 2, which was just spectacular. But I made it a point that we got there early to see the trailers because, that to me is almost, equally as seeing the film itself. And it's part of that whole experience. And, trailers back in the 70s and 80s especially, and even in the 60s especially, and tied into the Grindhouse cinema, period, that was like going to a movie itself. Like that was an event. And those trailers back during that were, created during those decades, there was a real art to it. It was, of course, it was in the world of, exploiting the audience, because people wanted to see lots of boobs and gore and, all the sleazy factors that we all love about those movies. But, back then you wouldn't know really what the film was about. You didn't have the plot reveal of who the killer was. You left really excited, but you still had lots of questions, and none of those questions were going to be, resolved or answered until you actually saw the movie. And that's, to me, is the power of a good trailer and a teaser trailer. So, you know, I recently, the big controversial one was the new Crow film that's coming out in, I think, July, starring Peter Skarsgård. At first, they released the still of what Peter Skarsgård looks like as the Crow, and for all intents and purposes, it looked kind of awful. And then the trailer dropped about a month or two after, and the trailer again didn't do it any justice. It made the film look even more like it was going to be really disappointing. But the biggest thing is, essentially, I know exactly what the movie's going to be. I know what the motivation is behind the Crow. I know kind of what the tone is. I feel like, okay, I got the sense when I watched the trailer for the new Crow movie that's coming out. I know going in, I know what's going to happen. I know what they're going for. And as a fan of film, I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that. I want to fucking be in the dark. I want to be enticed. I want to be excited, but I don't want to know the answers. So, really disappointing. And that's kind of commonplace now. So I try to stay away. I'll see a trailer, again, if I go to the theater, I will obviously get there early enough to see the trailer, because for me, that's like an integral part of the experience. But outside of that, I try to go into every movie as cold and, to a degree, as unaware as possible, because that's the magic. You don't want to know. So, one of the best examples, I think, of how a studio approached a movie and really, you got the teaser trailer first, and then you got the official trailer, and the trailer itself was just, it looked magnificent, and it just totally got you engaged, but yet you still didn't know really what the film was about. And that's Robert Pattinson's The Batman, which came out a couple of years ago. That, for me, at that time, was the most anticipated movie for me to see. The Batman is my favorite comic book superhero of all time. And I remember that film was delayed. They showed the teaser, and I was just blown away when I saw it. And then when the trailer came out, the 2-minute trailer, again, it just capitalized on that excitement. But yet, I came away not really knowing what the film was going to be about. How they were going to actually portray what the story, what the narrative was going to be. And that was awesome. Like, that's how you do it right. So I've been really interested. At first, I wasn't interested because the Alien franchise, or I should say, not the franchise, but the first two films in the Alien franchise, the first one, of course, directed by Ridley Scott, and probably the greatest sequel ever made, Aliens, directed by James Cameron. Those movies are just, both complete masterpieces. And I think with James Cameron's sequel, it's, I think easily the best sequel ever made in film history. And so the rest of the Alien movies, I kind of feel are, very, very forgettable. And some of them, there are things about Alien 3 that are kind of interesting. I'm a huge David Fincher fan, so that was his first film. Even though he did not have creative control of that film, you can still see moments of greatness in that movie. I think from for his really kind of specific way of how he shoots films, and he's one of my favorite filmmakers, and it has been. But the movie itself is not very good. It's really cluttered, and it's got some really, there were some pretty bad decisions made behind that movie, but it has some redeeming qualities to it. The film score for Alien 3, I think, is just spectacular, which composed by Elliot Goldenthal. Like, it's amazing. You know, one of the greatest film soundtracks or compositions or scores ever made, if not the best. So it has some great qualities to it. It's worth watching. I think it's worth owning, but you know, I have it on DVD. But the rest of the films in the franchise are just, they're totally pointless. I really think so. And that's, even talking about the newer ones that have come out were Prometheus and also especially Covenant, which has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Those films are utter disappointment. So I think the franchise as a whole has been, systematically driven into the ground by the studios because of just lack of focus or creativity. So, fast forward, it's been a while since those films have come out, and fast forward a few years later, and it was announced that they were going to, Fox Studios was going to yet again attempt to make another Alien movie. And when I first heard about that prospect, I was not excited at all. Um, I was pretty indifferent to it. And I'm like, okay, my first reaction was, okay, let's just give it a rest. Let's do something new, or just don't do it at all. Don't put your money and resources into this dead horse. So I wasn't excited about it. But then, about a month or two after it was announced that I heard about that there was going to be this new Alien, it was announced that it was going to be called Alien Romulus, and that the director attached to it, and he was also the writer, was going to be Fede Alvarez. And at that point, I got very excited. Because Fede Alvarez, I think, right now in the world of film, especially in the horror genre, I think he's just awesome. I think he's an incredible, just an incredible director. I think he has this kind of rawness to his films. He pushes the boundaries. He's got this really exciting way of being a storyteller, and so I was excited because I thought like what he did with Evil Dead, the Evil Dead remake was just spectacular, kind of unparalleled. Where he was able to take an already established classic film directed by Sam Raimi and do something totally unique, something totally original, and generally made it into truly a horrific horror movie, something that is legitimately scary and gets under your skin. And he did just such an amazing job with Evil Dead. I had watched it again around that period. And then another film of his that I just think is spectacular is Don't Breathe, which came out a few years back. And again, that movie is so awesome. It's so raw and just in your face. Both of those films are just kind of raw and nasty. And they're just awesome fucking movies. And I own both of them. Well, I should say I don't own Don't Breathe, but I do own Evil Dead on Blu-ray, and I have an amazing edition of that. And I've done a show. I did a show on Evil Dead. I think I've done 2 shows on that film, and it's spectacular. So I was kind of excited, and I saw an interview with him, and I was like, okay, this could be really cool, especially because I think not only is Fede Alvarez a really great, like just a spectacular director, he is he also is just an incredible writer. He wrote both the screenplays for both of those films. So it has his whole, his whole vision is intact. So I was really, really excited by that prospect. And just yesterday, the teaser trailer for the new Alien Romulus, which is coming out in August of this year, dropped. And I watched it, and to be totally honest, I was totally, totally fucking excited after I saw that trailer. I thought the trailer, again, it's just a teaser trailer. It's exactly 1 minute long, so it's a little bit, maybe a little bit ridiculous to get so into something that is small and to a degree insignificant. But I have to say, my first gut reaction to it was like, wow, like this. If this is what the film is going to be, and this is what is established, it looks amazing. And suddenly, after I saw this teaser trailer, I was like, yep, I am definitely going to see it. And it might now, for me personally, it might be my most anticipated movie now of this year. So, and it's a powerful trailer. I've seen some interviews with Fede Alvarez, and I think he talks about the timeline of the film of where it's going to take place between Alien and Aliens, and it's going to take this film is going to take place between those two films, and it's going to be set 20 years into the future after Alien, and it's not going to be incorporating or having any of the already established characters in it. Ridley Scott, Sigourney Weaver will not be a part of this film. It's all somewhat known actors or unknown actors. So, and that Fede Alvarez also said in a couple interviews where he wanted to make this movie really stripped down, really raw, and make it more, bring it back, bring the franchise back to its horror roots, like make a bona fide scary movie again, and not get lost into trying to make it into something it's not. And I was like, yep, that's a winner right there. So, and so I've seen a lot of people react towards, give their reactions to this new teaser trailer that was released, and I have to say I agree across the boards. I'm gonna have some reservations around this movie. It could be not, it could go the other way and not be as great as it looks. But for all intents and purposes, this movie looks really magical. It has that claustrophobic element of the first Alien. It looks generally scary. The visual kind of aesthetic behind the trailer just looks spectacular. It looks like a horror movie. It looks like it's going to be, like Truckers in Space, but I think it's going to be different. I don't think it's going to be, it's a carbon copy of that film. I think he's going to have his own imprint on it. But yet it's set in an established world that, where it's, it should be its home as a franchise. And I have to say, it just looks spectacular. So I'm super excited. And, and again, Fede Alvarez has also said that he does not, he's very critical of trailers, and he really, moving forward before the movie comes out, he wants to really keep people wondering what it's about, and that the only way they will know about, what the heck the film is about is if they see it in the theater, when it comes out. And I'm like, that's the way to do it. Like, that's totally spot on. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. But I'm super excited. But just based on the new teaser trailer, it is now officially my most anticipated movie to see this year. So very excited. I think there will be obviously in the next couple months there will be an official trailer put out. I'm going to try to stay away from it, but it would be pretty amazing to see in the theater. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So I just wanted to do a show about the release of this new teaser trailer for Alien Romulus, which comes out in August of this year. And, Fede Alvarez is, he only has a couple of films to his credit, but they're just amazing films. So we'll see what happens. So we will see you next time. Peace.